Okay, it is now 1:01, so I'm going to start the introduction. So hi everyone, thank you for attending this week's webinar Wednesday. My name is Stephanie Fox from the Network One, and I'll be moderating this webinar. So we have the rest of the team on the call. We've got Julian Boulding, Paul Squirrel, and Lizzie Gold. So I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping first. So I'm now going to give a 5-minute introduction. We have 2 speakers today. They will speak for about 15 minutes each. After this, we've got 15 minutes for Q&A, and we're aiming to finish by 1:55 London time, so you can be ready for your next virtual appointment. Please do keep your microphones muted at all times. We will unmute your microphone if we're calling on you to ask a question. That being said, we would appreciate it if you could keep your videos on so our speakers have some friendly faces to present to. As I mentioned, we'll have a Q&A portion at the end, but if you think of a question in the meantime, you can send them directly to me in the chat. So to do this, just go to your chat box, and where it says to, you should see a drop-down menu. Instead of everyone, select Stephanie Fox. I'll go through all of the questions and I'll select a few to ask our speakers once they've finished speaking. So all of the questions should be sent directly to me rather than to everyone, because they will get lost. If you would like to ask the question to the speakers yourself, you can just type "I'll ask" next to your question in the chat box. If you prefer for me to ask on your behalf, that's also fine. Please say so. You should now have your Zoom viewing mode set to speaker view. If not, just click speaker view at the top right of your screen. Our speakers will be sharing slides and some videos as well on their screens. If you can't see their speaker windows when their slides are on the screen, just select Show Active Speaker Video. If you have any technical issues, please message Lizzie Gold directly in the chat, or you can email Lizzie at lizzi.gold@thenetworkone.com. We're currently recording this webinar and we'll be sharing the recording with you afterwards. So if you prefer not to take notes, that's completely fine. And if for any reason the whole system crashes, please wait a couple of minutes and you can log back in with the same link that you used to log in this afternoon. Thank you very much. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker for today. It's Tiziano Lamberti. So Tiziano is a musician, composer, producer, and TV host with 25 years of experience in sound and production music for the creative industry. With his work, he has contributed to the success of global campaigns for major brands like Fiat, Chrysler, Volkswagen, Illy, and Abarth, and of TV shows aired on national Italian networks and on Amazon Prime's video platform. In April 2020, Tiziano founded and launched SounZone, a new concept of music library launch, where he currently holds the position of head of music. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to turn over to...
Thank you, Stephanie. Well, you said everything, so I don't need to talk about myself anymore. That's true. I'm 25 years time working on the music industry, but even more, but this is just because I'm 52, so I'm an old elephant. And but mainly in soundtracking and composing tailor-made music for commercials and TV and films. It's been, yes, 25 years. I've had a small period of 7-8 years during this time I've been working on television as an actor for a TV program, but this is completely another story. Anyway, yeah, I started in the beginning of the 2000s. I started soundtracking and composing tailor-made music for the web. At the time, the web was, the connection was a very big problem because the amount of data need to be very, very, very small. So like my support was trying to compose very, very small loops of 10-15 seconds maximum, mono, so they could stay in the perfect weight, like 700 kilobytes or maximum 1 megabyte. So this was my my challenge of the very beginning of the 2000s. Up until the connection started to be a bit wider, so that everyone could have music on the websites, and a lot of companies start to have music on the websites. This was the very beginning with. Then from 2007, I started working on bigger campaigns, ATL campaigns, television, radio. And my very first important job was the launch of Fiat 500 in 2007. And from there, I started working on international and worldwide campaigns like Volkswagen and all the brands you mentioned before. And around 2014, 2015, and this is the thing I wanted to talk about today. My customers, my clients start to say, well, you know what, we cannot afford tailor-made music anymore because we're all starting to use libraries. But music libraries were the quality was very low, and yeah, the price was low as well, but they were not really satisfied with that. And so my thought was, how about working on this concept of music library? And that's how SounZone was born. Actually, I started working on SounZone in 2015-16. Yes. So yeah, the concept of music library, I don't need to explain why people or customers start to use, or the creative world start to use libraries, because you all know big investment moved from offline to web. The web exploded in the last 10, 20 years. The lifetime of the normal campaign reduced. So more message for shorter time, so more videos to upload, more work and smaller budgets. But especially, mainly, no time. So what normally happens, what I realized that there was need for was a kind of innovation in the process of finding the right soundtrack. And this is what we try to do with SounZone. The question was, how can we give a better experience, faster and effective experience for a creative director or a video maker? I mean, okay, these people are creative people, of course, but not always music experts. And not all companies and not all agency can afford to have a music supervisor, for example. So we tried to work on this. We tried to make a better experience of for music sound library. I would like to show you something. Can I share the screen? Like, for example, when when we normally, okay, when we normally looking for a photograph, for example, in a photograph library, we have some thumbnails, so we can search, we can see thousands of photos, but just scrolling and watching every thumbnail. What happens normally in the music library is that you have to listen to all the tracks one by one. So, like, for example, if I'm searching for rock, for example, this is, I'm using SounZone at the moment, so to show you, you can see there's a big list, a long list, sometimes can be huge, of tunes to listen to. Okay, the first thing is try to work on this on a new way to search, to find the right soundtrack by searching. Okay, so for example, I'm looking for a motocross. I have a motocross video. Okay, so a rock will fit, because normally we used to have the word of rock music to the motocross or extreme sport. But what can I do? How can I make this search better? How can I fine tune this search? Okay, I add a keyword. For example, I said extreme. Okay, mainly sport, first of all. Sorry. Okay, and the list is reducing a little bit, but not enough. So we say extreme. And this will reduce a bit more. Or sometimes I can be lucky. I say, let's look for motocross, for example, straight over. You see, now I really have a short list of 10 songs, 10 songs to listen to. And so this is the first step. So reduce the list of songs to listen to. And then we decide to add one more thing that could really help, which is this. I'm working on my video. I have a Rubomatic or some footage, for example. Let me see if it works, if it fits. Okay, sorry, I reduced the volume. It might be a little bit higher. So you can see here, there's a small footage of motocross. So what I'm doing now, I'm listening to the music and watching the video at the same time, my video, so I can see if the mood fits, if the kind of music will fit better. I changed to real time while the video is going. Choose another one. Gone. Okay, of course, if I had the wrong searching, like, I don't know, jazz, for example, I could immediately see the difference. Maybe it can sound interesting, but not really fit, right? Okay, so, and I go back to you. Okay, so this is the first, this is what we're trying to do with this system. This is how we're trying to improve the experience of looking for a soundtrack. Another important thing is the quality of the music, because normally Sound Library, okay, now are getting a little bit better actually, but normally they have a lot of production music, which is normally cheap music or sometimes MIDI files. And what we're trying to do is open this website to all these all musicians, all bands, or talent or artists that are making a really artistic music. They're not doing music for a specific purpose. So this music was made with a real inspiration. And sometimes, most of the times, this can give some more, can be more inspiring for the creative industry. So this is what we assume what we're trying to do at the moment. What we're talking about is what we normally used to see in the charts or in the mainstream music is maybe the 3–5% of the music of all over the world, but there's a huge amount of music made every day, and in this music there are some fantastic music. So we try to select that music, only what is really great, and have it in our library. So this is another thing we trying to do. And yeah, I think this was all about the process we are going through, and that I wanted to share with you. Can you still hear us? Hello?
Hello. Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. And yeah, another thing is, for example, I'm sorry if I'm still talking of libraries. Obviously, I'm talking about this theme. Maybe with Ella later we'll speak about something else. But another thing which is interesting is that whenever we need some tailor-made music, we can make a call on all our producers and artists, and have some trials or some tailor-made music on the brief in 24, 48 hours, because we're talking in this moment about 70, 80 people working with us, 80 artists working with us. We just launched, we started in the beginning of April, so we are an innovative startup. So we will grow, we will get better in the next few months, we hope. And so the songs will be much more, and also the people working on this will be much more. So this is our solution for this topic. This is it. This is it. Hello?
Hello?
Okay.
Oh, okay, you finished, sorry. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. That was really excellent. I am now going to hand over to Ella Duda. So just to introduce Ella, so Ella Duda is from Sixième Son in Paris. She's the International Strategy Director there. She's worked on sonic branding initiatives in Europe, the Middle East, and North America on clients ranging from baby products to airlines. Today, her role is to spread the word about best practices in sonic and voice branding and guide sonic strategy for forward-looking brands around the world. Today, Tiziano and Ella will explain how to use sound more effectively as a powerful creative and branding tool with huge commercial benefits. So we've already heard from Tiziano a little bit on that. So we're now going to hear some more from Ella. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stephanie, for that introduction and for the invitation to be here today. Thank you, Tiziano, for going first. I will share my screen, and hopefully my neighbors above me will stop making noise. All right. So, as Stephanie said, Tiziano, he went more into the creative side of choosing music and his amazing platform, which Tiziano, we have many things to talk about, and how he's helping creative directors or just movie producers, etc., to find the right fit for their video and their content. So just a little bit about Sixième Son. What we do is we work specifically in sonic branding. So we want to find first the sound of the brand, just like you would create your visual branding. And then we apply that to the different touch points, depending on the purpose of the touch point, what's the experience that's needed, while keeping a global brand sonic identity, just like you wouldn't have your brand logo different everywhere. You would have it maybe slightly smaller or in a different format, but everything would be visually connected. So Sixième Son is one of the leading global sonic branding agencies. We have offices around the world, and we believe to have the most client experience in sonic branding specifically at this point, not necessarily just like a production house or agencies that have, like the sonic entity that they work with. It's purely sonic branding. Here's a little look at who we've worked with, and you can see the different B2B, B2C, big and small companies, etc. And so for us, sonic branding is designing a distinctive and engaging sonic ecosystem for brands through music, sound, and voice. And then when we say ecosystem, it's not just the TVC or the radio or something that we might think of that's really obvious that needs music, but we're also talking about the on-hold music, internal videos for your employees, ringtones. There's a little bit less evident today since we all have our phones on silent, but things that can make people come together and be part of something through sound. One big one right now is definitely podcasts, and something that's rising in popularity is definitely the vocal assistant. Who or what is your brand voice, which is another strategy, and is completely related to how you use sound to convey your brand values and personality. So our key objectives, or what we believe sonic branding should do for our clients, is first, not even first, it's not really an order, but it's definitely to grab attention. We want to create and put emerging and unexpected elements in place, things that is going to make that brand stand out. We want to create engagement, and that's a huge, I think, keyword, buzzword today in branding in general, is how do we engage our customers and not just sell at them or talk at them. How can we engage and heighten their curiosity in a positive way? We want to trigger recall, which is clearly important since there's so many different factors that are vying for our attention. We want to create something that's going to stick. And then when we hear it again, we're going to connect it to that brand. We want something that conveys meaning, because especially in this last year, meaning has such a different definition. We want to make sure that what we're buying into or what we're taking part of is really important and worth our time. So we want to make sure that when we create a sound for a brand, it's conveying that meaning that is authentically related to them, not wishy-washy or just something that we can't see through, but that we really believe in. And finally, a sound that's flexible and coherent, because as I've mentioned, it's not just about one adaptation, it's about a whole system. So we don't want, and as Tiziano was saying, we don't want creative people to feel like they're stuck in using only one thing and they can't be creative with their sonic identity, which it's really the inverse. We want to make sure what we create gives that coherence, but also allows flexibility, so that way people can be very creative with it in a strategic and branding sort of way. So I'm gonna get this, there we go. I've come with some research actually, and it might be surprising to some people that yes, there is research around how sonic branding can be incredibly beneficial for brands and how they use it. So one key element right now is that sonic brand assets actually surpass visual cues to grab attention. And this was a study done that was released in earlier this year, so even before our situation. And basically what this says is that brands that used sonic brand cues or sound that was related to their brand in some way in TV ads, they had more impact over what we would typically think would give impact over the visual elements. And we know how much brands and agencies work hard on a beautiful visual landscape, but the research is showing that it's really more important to think of your sonic brand cues or your sonic cues and how they're branded, because that's really what's creating the most impact at the moment. As Tiziano said, there's also tailor-made music. You can the music libraries are absolutely an incredible, well, more so today. Music libraries like Tiziano's are a perfectly great solution for brands that have many different digital videos, etc. today, or they have content that needs a lot of audio, and maybe they don't necessarily have the budget to always have tailor-made music. However, we do have research that shows that tailor-made music does perform better on a brand level. So depending on if you're just making a video and you're not necessarily related to a brand, then it's probably less important. But if we're talking about branding, then it's really something to keep in mind that 9 out of 10 musical selections that brands choose perform best when they're composed specifically for the brand. So this is most likely because the tailor-made music follows and supports the storyline. if you put music that's already made onto your video, then it might not necessarily sync up with all of the visual elements. But when you can really have the composer take the time to highlight and create the emotion or the intrigue that you're looking for, it's going to perform even better. And on top of it, if there's those sonic brand cues that I've already talked about, just imagine, the potential that this, what is seemingly, or what has been maybe an asset, sonic, that we've thought of secondhand, can actually really create a return on investment that's much more powerful than we've thought. Music and sound submerged. So this is a really great study that shows basically the attention of people when we're watching specifically a TVC, a television commercial. So you have the yellow line where they didn't have a sonic logo at the end of their spot. So you can see how, we all start to pay attention immediately when we're watching something, and then our attention starts to wane, and then maybe there's something that happens in the middle that we kind of perk up again, and then depending on how long the film is, which this one was only a little over 30 seconds, this yellow TVC didn't have a sonic logo, and so by the end, if it didn't have our attention, then we're off doing something else. If we look at the blue line, same story, although this music was more tailored to the spot. So you can see that there are moments where we come back, our attention comes back because there was something that happened that made us come back to the TVC. We lose a bit of attention at the end, which is normal, but when there was a sonic logo, because of its ability to get our attention, to remind us of the brand, et cetera, to make us stop what we were doing and to really pay attention, we basically got all of the people back. And this was the moment that we actually saw the brand. So we created not only just having attention, but we created attention at the right moment, which is also incredibly important. Putting music on any of your brand assets can be helpful. Of course, it can create an experience and add to the appeal of your asset. But if you're not paying attention to how the music and where the music is getting our attention, then you can have a video where your brand might show up in a few places, and we're going to miss every time that the brand shows up. So in the end, the people coming away might come away with parts of the story, but not necessarily who was talking to us. And finally, a strategic sonic brand experience can be measured with KPIs. So this is depending on the brand's objectives. We can absolutely create tests and questionnaires to figure out, did we improve upon a key performance indicator in some way, and how? So for example, Renault is one of our clients. We implemented their sonic identity. And after a year, we then tested to see how the brand perception changed. So we already knew, what the brand, how the brand was perceived. And so we wanted it to be more modern, more enthusiastic, and more unique. And after just a year of that implementation, we saw that it did increase because of the support of the sound of just the sonic logo, the 3-second mnemonic that everybody recalls. The same for SNCF. It's like now one of France's most iconic sounds. So much so that you have movies that are trying to use it in their movies because it makes it feel more authentic. And this is also a really good example of how having a sonic identity and being committed to it for the long term and using it in a coherent and consistent way. So this has been implemented since 2005, and it has literally become the sound of all of the train stations in France. And tests show that just with, well, first of all, the whole, it's only 4 notes. With the 4 notes, 92% of the French population can recognize it. And just after the first 2 notes, 88% of the population can still recognize and then complete it themselves, which is really strong in terms of triggering recall. And it's really unprecedented. And there's only a few other brands that might be able to do that with such a large population. And finally, with USA, which is an insurance company, a military insurance company in the US, they were having a lot of difficulty with their customer service line. So again, I mentioned, we think about TVCs, commercials and radio, and the most obvious brand touch points, but the customer service lines and for certain brands are even more important, because that's what's dealing with the everyday and the people who are most likely calling because they have a problem, and we need to diffuse the situation before they even get in contact with someone, so that way the experience is better for both people on both ends. I myself, I'm sure we all have that experience, but I live in Paris, and I find myself on customer service lines more often than I would like, and it's I wish the music was better, because it definitely doesn't help diffuse any situation. So for USAA, we were able to measure the impact of the music they had on their customer service line before, what people thought about it, and then how it compared to when we created a new piece of music that was in line and related to their sonic brand identity, and communicated with their objectives, just to make sure that people felt safe, that they felt heard, that they were going to get proper care and respect on a customer service line. And it also tested really well across demographics, which is not an easy feat, especially today when we have so many different generations, XYZ, and still we have baby boomers, and all of these different backgrounds to appeal to so many people is difficult, and but possible when you do it in a strategic way. So just looking at the time, so just a few key takeaways. I'm gonna just leave them up here. I think there we go. There's 5. We want to start with the brand, not the music. So we want to know, for at least at Sixième Son, we want to know what are your brand values, your personality, what is it that you want to communicate. And then we want to think of a system, not just the one campaign. So that way, once we have your sonic identity in place, how do we then evolve it and make it adapt to the different touch points? We really want to aim for clarity and acoustic performance. There's a lot of sonic logos, at least at the moment, that have a lot of elements, and so it's kind of difficult to grasp what they're trying to communicate to us, and which part is the important part that we need to remember and relate to the brand. So clarity and acoustic performance is really strategic, and something that we really look into. Consider the overall brand experience, not just again the one touch point. And for us, evaluate it, do the testing, or at least look into, see what's working and what's not working, and just evolve it instead of just throwing it all away and restarting, because you're not going to create a system that way. You're not going to create the recall that way. And quick reasons for failure. You're thinking about appeal. You're thinking about people liking the music first, and not what it's saying about the brand. You want to build a system, but you don't have a strategy. You don't have the clear link in place, and you forget to consider the specificity of each touch point. So people are just copy pasting music, and one piece of music isn't going to work for every touch point, and that touch point's objective. So I hope that's clear. Thank you. I think I'm good on time.
No, that's absolutely excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so we've had quite a few questions in for both you and Tiziano. So the first one is a question for Tiziano. And someone has asked, how many tracks are there on SounZone?
There are 1,200, 1,300 for the moment.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Right.
And a question for Ella. Someone has said, how does a brand choose the right sonic brand for them? What should they think about?
Sure. Thank you. Good question. So for us, when we are creating a sonic brand, it's from scratch. There's nothing that we're looking at to choose from. It's first we have a creative brief with you. We have a workshop with you, and we first want to understand, just as a brand, not what music do you think you want or what music would you like to have. It's who is your brand, what are your values, what are your personality, what is it that you're trying to communicate as a whole. And then we go into different exercises to help us hone in on your keywords and how music can then translate words into music. And there's also a competitive benchmark, so we make sure that we're not copying any sonic branding that already exists. We want to make sure that when we do create something, if everybody in your category is using strings and big classical music, then maybe we want to, that doesn't mean we can't use strings, but we need to find out how to use them in a different way. So there's a lot of, before we even touch an instrument, there's a lot of analysis and research and workshop that we do with you first to then help you find the right sound.
That makes sense. Thanks very much. I've got a two-part question for Tiziano. Someone has said, can you buy music through SounZone, and can you help with buying rights for music with SounZone?
Yes, we have we have two different models. One is a subscription for all editorial users, and I don't want to talk about prices, so you can go and check them out on the platform. And the other model is paper license. There's a specific calculator inside this is another tool of ours. I didn't want to talk about pricing in this particular event, but let's say another topic is that one about pricing, about modern pricing having quotation, because normally, in my experience, especially when you have tailor-made music, sometimes the music, fortunately, I have to say, arrives before the quotation. So when the agency has to go to the PPM, it sometimes has the music, but still doesn't have the quotation. And producers or accountants, they have to look for quotation for days, sometimes weeks, and to have everything ready. With our system, you can have the perfect quotation for that specific cues all at the same time. So in 3 minutes, you can find the music, try it on your video, and have the quotation of the license, and go to your PPM with everything and your music downloaded as well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So another question, and that's for both speakers. How often do you work with agencies, and how often do you work directly with clients? So whichever one of you wants to start off with that.
Go ahead, Tiziano.
Well, yeah, 80% with agency, 20% with clients. Sometimes I've worked with clients, with brands, and going through different agencies. For example, like when I've been working a lot with Fiat, with Volkswagen as well, and I was working with the same client with different agencies. So one thing I would like to say, fantastic, the fantastic, amazing job you're doing, Ella, and your company. It's a kind of scientific way to think about it. I really appreciate it. I want to add that one thing that would be really useful in these days is to help brands and agency, but mainly brands, how to use the music. they need more things like yours, like things that work that you're doing, on learning how to use it, because this is the one of the main problem when you have to choose a song, a music, a theme or something. If you take 10 people of the same company, 10 different people of the same company, and you give them the same brief separately, they will propose 10 different kind of music at the same time. So we will never substitute the professionality and the knowledge of someone that really work with music and video at the same time. That is a specific job. I mean, I call it a job, but it's art as well. But it's very, very important to teach them, help them understanding how it works. So you're really doing a great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So we've got a question for Ella. How do you research the effect of sound, especially if its effect can be subconscious?
Well, there are a couple different ways. You know, we could just have a simple questionnaire, and so we won't. That's not going to test the subconscious. It's just going to. It's sort of a comparison test where we say, here it is, perhaps without the music. You know, maybe just the 3 seconds of the music. Here it is with the music. Now, how did your perception change? And then people say, oh, you know, now it's more enjoyable. I think it's more of a leader. You know? And we can compare then how the music literally changes perception. There, for the subconscious, and it's not in every country, but in certain countries, you can we can use neuroscience, and basically people will watch, for example, the graph that I showed with the attention. People watched the same video twice. First one, the yellow the yellow line. French sneaks in. The yellow line was with one piece of music, so we could see with the video cam when people started going places, even though they're really micro differences. But that's more like the subconscious, where we can figure out where we're losing the person's attention, even though they might be staring at the screen. Something's happening. It's very small. It sounds really crazy, but that's where we can kind of dive deeper into the subconscious, and then we'll compare that to then what happens when they watch the same film but with a different piece of music. So we could see that people maybe started drifting somewhere, and then at the end for the blue line, they came back immediately when something unexpected happened, which is typically the Sonic logo at the end. And yeah, so then there's just, those are 2 examples. There's many different ways, qualitative versus quantitative, etc. But it's not difficult. It's very insightful.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thanks. Another question for you, Ella. Someone has said, many companies still don't have or don't see the value in sonic branding, or view audio as a commodity that is often an afterthought. How do you overcome this resistance and persuade clients to invest time and money?
That's a great question. I don't know if we have the answer, because sometimes we don't always persuade the client, right, or the prospective client. I think we clearly have strong evidence of that it's important, why it's important, and how much more powerful it can be. Not even just more than your visual, but in complement to. And so that alone, if you don't believe it, you don't believe it, and we're not going to force you to. But today in particular, what's helping us is that we're seeing a lot of voice activated or just sound only experiences, really. And it's actually been sort of increased because of the situation this past year, where we're looking for ways to not really touch anything. So we're using our Alexas and our Google Assistants more. But then we're realizing that, or at least brands are realizing that is just, we're only interacting with Google and Alexa, and we're not interacting with the brand. So how can they get equity in these new touch points that are not just being used daily or being used more, but being used daily, and since we've been using them, it only takes, 30 days to develop a new habit. And so we've had plenty more than 30 days to develop all these new habits where we're using and finding it more convenient to speak through sound. I was just reading a Salesforce report on the digital shopper today, and it's incredibly fascinating. There are at least 8 ways that we can digitally shop now, and one that's increased by 9% is voice activated experiences. So the fact that we're looking for screenless and touch-free options to interact with anything today affects brands. And so they need to figure out, well, then what is their sonic only experience, and how does that experience, what does that say about them, and how does that differentiate them? Why would we go back to them?
Brilliant, thank you. So another question, which comes first, the sound or the picture? This could be answered by either of you, whichever you prefer. So which comes first, the sound or the pictures? Do you edit your film to fit the music, or edit the music to fit the film?
This sounds like when you're composing a song, you doing the lyrics first or the music first?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. For example, for movie, for something like more closer to cinema, you do it on the movie. So you first have some some action, some footage. You start working on that just to find, maybe you start with the mood, or you start with the idea, because we know that in creativity, when what you do is developing ideas. Okay, you do the same thing with the music. Every music, every theme, every song is an idea. So first of all, you try to have an idea of what can really fit as a world, as a mood, and then slowly go to work, make a little piece, then you make a little piece of the video, start editing, then you go closer with the music. So kind of one follows the others. This for movies, for example. Different is maybe with commercial, it depends by the kind of commercial. Obviously, if it's a kind of movie, it will be approximately the same. Or where is a promotion, for example, you just need a cut of the music with that specific mood, and then you do it on the movie straight over.
Fabulous, thanks. So we've only got time for a couple more questions now. So someone has said, aside from the aesthetic preferences, should the Sonic logo include the brand name spoken or sung? And does this improve brand recall?
Great question. So it really depends on, for example, we work for Renault, and they're at least in 7 different countries. So Renault is really well known here in France and lesser known in China, for example. Also, Renault is Renault. It's not Renault, but either way, it's going to be difficult for other people to say it. And so to help with the brand recognition, in other countries, maybe where it's lesser known, it did help increase brand recognition where they just put Renault with the Sonic logo. But it depends on the placement. You don't want to place Renault on top of the Sonic logo so we don't hear, because the point isn't to eventually take it away, right? Or that would be ideal. So it's also a matter, if you have the voiceover and the Sonic logo, or the name of the brand and Sonic logo, also figure out where it should be placed, so that we are giving space for both, so that if you do eventually remove the voiceover, we can still recognize it. And I mean, it's the same thing with visual. We have many brands are just coming up with like a really basic visual logo now. I mean, all the different revolutions of like McDonald's has now just become the golden arches, and we don't need anything else. But before, it was a lot of other stuff, right? And they had to have the word McDonald's, and they had to have the red, and blah 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 blah. So it's the same idea. It's also where is this brand in the country, in its context, in its process, and then what can we start taking away eventually. But how do we get the first recall? You can have the brand voiceover if that's what is needed. Why not?
No, that's clear. Thanks. So last question. This is another one for you, Ella. Are some brands more suited to sonic branding than others, would you say?
What we believe is that every brand can benefit from strategically thinking about their sound. So whatever degree that is, you know, a lot of people think that a big brand, because they have the budget, then it's for them. But that's not what we believe. Sonic branding is also figuring out, as Tiziano said, how to be using the sound. And we can also just help brands and their teams figure out just that little bit, if that's what they need, so that they have that tool and they can take that where they need to go. Or we can do a full sonic branding process. But really thinking strategically about how the sound is communicating, or what the sound is communicating, and how that reflects on your brand, that's for every brand.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks. All right, fantastic. So unfortunately, that is the end of question times. But what I will do is share the contact details for our speakers, so you can ask any extra questions if you'd like to. So huge thank you to Ella and Tiziano for those great presentations, fantastic webinars. As I mentioned, if you'd like to contact them via email, you can do so at Ella Duda is e.duda@sixiemson.com, and Tiziano Lamberti is tiziano@soundzone.com. So thank you all very much for coming. We hope you enjoyed it. We are going to be hosting our last webinar on the 16th of December, the last one of 2020, not forever, don't worry. So as it's the last one of 2020, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So it will actually be more like a town hall meeting than a webinar. So what we'll do is lay out the challenges and opportunities that we foresee for all of us in 2021 and how we will be structuring our business to meet these. Then we want you to feedback to us live. What we should be doing, what we should change, what we should do more of or less of, what we should keep doing. We want to hear everything. So we will divide you into groups in Zoom breakout rooms, so you have a chance to exchange ideas with other agency leaders before choosing a spokesperson to report back to the larger group. As we know that you're all in very different time zones, we'll be running this webinar 3 times in the same day. So once in the morning London time, so 9 o'clock London time, once in the middle of the day, 1 p.m. London time, and once at the end of the day at 5 p.m. London time. So that should work for Asia, the Americas, and EMEA as well. So please do visit our website, www.thenetwork1.com/webinars, to register for the most convenient time for you. So we hope to see you there and hear what you really think. Thank you very much and have a great day. And again, a really huge thank you to Tiziano and Ella for this great session today. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.